I am Samia Khalid, Executive Member, Pakistan Association of Lifestyle Medicine and lecturer, Rifa Institute of Clinical and Professional Psychology. It's my pleasure to welcome all the participants for third day of International Conference of Lifestyle Medicine 2021. We will start our day with the recitation of Holy Quran. For this, I would like to call Mr. Awais Afzal, pharmacist, student of Rifa International University.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذي خلقني فهو يهدين والذي هو يطعمني ويسقين وإذا مرضت فهو يشفين والذي يميتني ثم يحيين والذي يطمع أن يغفر لي خطيئتي يوم الدين. ترجمة. जिसने पैदा किया मुझे सो वही मुझे रास्ता दिखाता है और वही है जो मुझे खिलाता है और मुझे पिलाता है और जब मैं बीमार पड़ता हूँ तो वो मुझे शिफा देता है और वो जो मुझे मौत देगा फिर मुझे जिंदा करेगा और वो जिससे मैं उम्मीद रखता हूँ कि वो बख्शिश देगा मेरे लिए मेरी खताएं फैसले के दिन. Sadaqallahul Azim.
International Conference of Lifestyle Medicine 2021 is a very important conference because it promote a foundational science which work on disease prevention and disease reversal. Let's start our first segment. I would like to invite my co-chairperson, Dr. Rabia Hanif. She is an acting HOD and assistant professor at Department of Applied Psychology, Rifa International University. She has won Community Leadership Award at Austria, Vienna. She got first position in research poster competition at International Conference, California. She is a Fulbright scholar. She represents Pakistan as a guest speaker and deliver the different talk shows and deliver the lectures in different platforms in different countries. Welcome, ma'am. Now, I would like to invite the chairperson of this session, Professor Dr. Sadia Sultana, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Chairperson Curriculum Committee, Islamic International Medical College, Editor of Journal of Islamic International Medical College, Reviewer at TC National Research Projects, Facilitator of national and international workshops and courses, and an excellent mentor and lifestyle medicine coach. Welcome, ma'am. Our first participant for this session is Dr. Tamami Shirai. Dr. Tamami Shirai is a PhD scholar. She is a researcher at the Department of Radiology, School of Medicine, University of California, and consultant in global research, healthcare research of major consulting firms. She will discuss the Japan's longevity miracle, history, status, and challenges. Welcome, ma'am. She join us online, so you can see the video.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Tamami Shirai from San Diego to explain about Japan's longevity miracle, history, status, and the challenges. I have no financial relationships with any commercial interests. I serve as a volunteer chair of the Japanese Society of Lifestyle Medicine. Objectives to learn how Japan has cultivated the philosophy of lifestyle medicine, to understand how Japan has coped with the non-communicable diseases and achieved longevity. This is my background. I'm a certified functional food scientist. My undergraduate was psychology in Japan, and all of my graduate studies were performed in the United States, mind-body medicine, and healthcare science research specialization. My dissertation was comparative research on lifestyle medicine among US and Japan. Currently, I'm working on the magnesium study, how magnesium and vitamin D supplement that affect the blood flow and vessels. Let me ask you, what kind of images do you have about Japan? Most recent image may be Tokyo Olympic game, or perhaps more technologies, for example, music portable device Walkman created by Sony, and maybe automobile companies Nissan, Toyota, Mazda. Or in the history, 2 atomic bombs dropped, one in Nagasaki, one in Hiroshima, or a big earthquake in 2011 in the northern part of Japan, followed by the nuclear power plant's accident. Maybe fun cartoons like Pokemon. This is the geographical map. I highlighted with the color orange and green. Green is Japan. Japan is very far east in Asia, and this is a very small island and floating in the Pacific Ocean. Unfortunately, economic growth is minus. 67% of land is forest. And believe it or not, 98% people are non-religious. The language used is only Japanese. Life expectancy is man 81.64 years, women 87.74 years. Leading cause of death is cancer, about 30%. Main preventable health risk is tobacco smoking, about 25%. I have some questions to you. Question number 1. Japanese live the longest in the world. Yes or no? The answer is yes. If we exclude Hong Kong, WHO doesn't include Hong Kong data. So, interestingly, Hong Kong women live 88.14 years. Hong Kong men live 82.71 years. While Japanese people, women 87.74. Japanese men 81.64 years. Question number 2. Okinawans live a healthier life and they live the longest in Japan. Yes or no? The answer is no. Okinawa is famous as one of the blue zones, so that you might think Okinawans have a healthy lifestyle. But the truth is different. The Okinawa woman is actually sixth among Japanese people, and Okinawa man is actually 36th in Japan. So we call it Okinawa crisis. They tend to live long before, but their lifestyle was totally messed up, and they are no longer healthiest people in the world. Question number 3. Japan is the most aging country in the world. Yes or no? The answer is yes. Japan is the fast-growing aging country in the world, and that would expect it to long. This is the map. Changes in life expectancy in Japan with the leading cause of death and main events. I plot everything important year what happened, and then I marked with yellow and yellow line. They suffered with infectious disease such as pneumonia or tuberculosis, but that turned to stroke around this time. And Japan was developing the economically very, so it happened here. And I plot several important point, 1928, 1956, 1961, 1985, 2005, 2008, and 2015, and their efforts is still continuing. So, lifestyle medicine in Japan started early in 1713 with a best-selling book, which is called Yojoku. This is the photograph of the original book. The author is a Confucian scholar. So Confucian is you might be familiar with a little bit. Don't make your stomach full and reduce meat in diet. Walk after the meal and don't sit at one place for a long time. Get up early and work hard. Don't be lazy. This is actually written in Yojoku. Is if you are interested in Google radio exercise in Japan, so there's a beautiful piano music exercise, you can watch it. In 1951, high blood pressure from high salt intake caused a stroke, dramatically replaced tuberculosis as the leading cause of death in Japan. It was the highest in the world based on the age-adjusted mortality rate at that time. In 1956, this is very important, the government established a committee for preventing non-communicable disease officially. They called at that time adult disease. Japan was successful to reduce the mortality rate from stroke by 70% from 1960 to 1990, with just reducing salt intake from food. The economic growth helped this process. Established the distribution of fresh food, reducing smoking, and broadly disseminated medical examinations contributed to success too. After participating in the Answered Kids 7 countries study, in 1961, Kyushu University began a cohort study, which is well known as Hisayama study. You can Google too. There's a lot of publications. You can find Google Scholars. And also this year, this is very important. Health insurance was extended to the entire population. And this is a very reasonable health insurance. It's cancer in their lifetimes. From 2000, Japan's falling stroke rate flattened. And the type of stroke most common in Japan were changing to the more Western style of stroke. The government set 9 core improvement areas to prevent: diet, physical activities, rest and mental health, smoking cessation, numerical target for alcohol consumption, dental health, prevention of diabetes, prevention of cardiovascular disease, and cancer. So that's unique. The Japanese set the target areas, and dental health is included. 2 years later, it became a legal obligation for citizens to maintain their health with the cooperation of local governments and medical institutions. By the way, I live in the United States with a permanent residency. I'm still Japanese citizen. So I am legally obligated as a citizen to maintain my health with cooperating with the local Japanese government and the Japanese medical institutions, and on encouraging local farming, including promotion of local products. Shokuiku was born and developed with concerns Japan's low self-efficiency in food production. Reducing consumption of its staple food, for example, white rice, increasing globally diversified food, preserving Japanese culinary culture, and encouraging dining with family and home cooking. This is very important area Japanese focuses on. By the way, have you ever been to Japan? Japan is really fun for food. My husband is American. He loves visiting Japan because of the food. And most of the global foods are available. It's always changing. Michelin star restaurants are there. And even it's not expensive, convenience store, supermarket food, there's a lot of it reasonable and very good and even healthy food too. And please come visit Japan near future. In April 2008, special health checkups to diagnose lifestyle-related disease became available for people aged 40 to 74. In 2011, the Japanese government then launched the National Public Health Promotion Smart Life Project to promote focused initiatives, exercise, diet, tobacco cessation, regular medical checkups. And this is actually very unique. Exercise, they actually advise adding 10 minutes of walking every day, which is easier. So just 10 minutes you can add every day. Adequate diet, having a balanced meal, and tasty meals. So if you can eat vegetable, but tasty meals is much more easier for people to follow. Tobacco cessation, the focus is preventing secondhand smoking. And the regular medical checkups is to understand your own health. This is all to not extend only Japan's life expectancy, but also its healthy life expectancy and a shrinking birth rate. By 2065, longevity is expected to extend to 91.35 years old for women and 84.95 years for men. Thus, healthy and successful longevity is very important in Japan. Successful means functioning, independence, without disability, with a quality of life. This has resulted in increasing interest in reducing sarcopenia, which is the risk factors include flare, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes. In particular, Japanese and Asian people easily develop abnormal glucose metabolism. There's a concern that the rapid increase in cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and the diabetes will occur. So this is the video I'd like to introduce Shokuriku food education, which Japanese government focuses.
Almost all Japanese elementary schools provide lunch for their pupils. These are carefully designed for nutritional balance. As the children eat their meal, the teacher gives a simple explanation of its nutritional content. We eat these little fish whole, including the bones, because they have lots of calcium. Why is calcium good for us? It helps our bones grow strong. That's right. I learned a lot about nutrition today. I think this is going to be very useful to me after I grow up. The children learn about their food and how to choose a balanced diet. Shokuiku, or food education, is being heavily promoted these days. Professional washoku chefs are sometimes invited to give shokuiku classes. Washoku, or traditional Japanese cuisine, is good for health. It has been recognized as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage. Today, the children are learning about dashi, the stock that's the basis of miso soup. Kombu seaweed gives the soup umami. Umami is produced by simmering certain kinds of seaweed, seafood, or vegetables. Miso soup is so familiar to the children, they're surprised by all the techniques and ingredients needed to make it. I learned how to use different combinations of things to make dashi and the ways it makes food tastier. Shokuiku classes also teach children about traditional Japanese approaches to cooking and food. Washoku is more than just a cuisine, it contains so much about Japanese culture. These classes are a great way to teach the traditional understanding of life as well as food. This nursery school is for children up to 6 years old. Shokuiku lessons cover everything from how food is produced to how it's consumed. Food education gives children the knowledge and skills they'll need to function properly in society as adults. Topics range from growing and cooking food to how to properly serve and eat it. Rice is the staple food of the Japanese. These nursery school children plant their own rice and care for it until it's ready to harvest 6 months later. With their newly harvested rice, they learn to make rice balls, discovering for themselves the difficulties and the joys of growing food. The children make the side dishes too. I love cooking! They learn cooking techniques like cutting, stir frying, and deep frying. And they're taught how to serve themselves. Eating habits acquired at an early age stay with us all our lives. Hearing my son say how confident he was in today's class really makes me feel how quickly he's growing up. Food education in Japanese schools is helping improve the nation's diet. Teaching children basic knowledge about food and instilling desirable eating habits, Shokuiku classes lay a good foundation for health in adult life.
Okay, this is the Shokuiku. When I was a kid, I didn't start that young age, but now they expanded the age even younger and older, so that under 6 years old they can learn how to cook. And also now the government is considering to expand over 18 years old, for example, college generations. In high school, they actually have a cooking classes. And then, but the Japanese government considered that still over 18 years old, they should keep learning about the food. So they might be coming soon. Okay, so I mentioned that Okinawans are no longer healthiest in Japan, which means no longer healthiest in, it's not a blue zone anymore. So where is the healthiest in Japan? So this is the data. The woman, number one is Nagano Prefecture and the Okayama Prefecture. Those two are women, live 87.67. And the man, number one is Shiga Prefecture, 81.78 years old. And number two is Nagano Prefecture, 81.75 years. So that both Nagano showed up. So what makes Nagano different from other prefectures? So the research said that there are 3 different distinctive elements found in Nagano Prefecture. Number one, the employment rate of the elderly is highest. So over 65 years old who are employed in Nagano is actually 28.7%. And national average is 22.5%. And the number two, highest vegetable intake in Nagano. Actually, Nagano is famous for growing several fresh vegetables. And the vegetable intake per person per day, women in Nagano is 335 grams per day. And men in Nagano is actually 352 grams. National average is about 270 or 284. So it's actually a lot. And number three, active healthcare activities. They have a lot of volunteers, health nurses, education, nutritionists, and a pharmacist. And they started the family pharmacist system, which means one pharmacist knows all of the medication. So this is a summary of the characteristics of Japanese lifestyle medicine and why Japan achieved the longevity. Number one, economic prosperity, of course. Number two, the introduction of the mandatory low-cost health insurance system with health screening. Number three, strong continuous government and academic evidence-based initiatives. And number 4, Japanese original culture in long history contributed this process. I actually summarized about this culture. Number 1, special relationship with nature. Buddhist idea of Shogyo Mujo. Shogyo Mujo is nothing is permanent, which is linked to belief in gods were thought to be deeply buried in nature. So in mountains there's gods, in forests there's gods, in rivers there are gods, and even gods in oceans. That's the Japanese mentality. And yet nature is very, very strong, should be respected, should be surrendered, because nature in Japan is very cruel, even violent. Many typhoons, flood disasters, and so many earthquakes, as you know. So resilience is a necessary trait in Japan. Number 2, the lifelong employment has produced a less stressful society. Japan's sociocentric society brings sense of responsibility towards a group, maybe family, workplace, or a community, maybe country. The concept called ikigai, purpose in life, is a positive psychological factor behind the Japanese lifestyle. Another culture, big culture, is definitely diet. It's called washoku, which is registered as a UNESCO intangible heritage, which is a lifelong complex interaction of individual nutrients, very, very unique to Japan. So basically plant-based diet, Japanese people used to have it. And they added a little bit variety of fish and other seafood, and seaweeds, and seasonal vegetables. They have a Confucianism-based caloric restriction habit known as harahachibu, eat until you are 80% full. And you have a staple drink, green tea, with containing hyperpolyphenols, catechin. And also they originally, during the economic growth, Japanese didn't consume much sugar and fat comparing with other countries in the development. That's a very important point. And still now, Japanese people is 25% lower calorie compared with other countries, which is the newest book of Mr. Barker's Mill, 2021 book called Numbers Don't Lie. Numbers Don't Lie. If you are interested in statistics about the global movement, I highly recommend this book. So finally, I'd like to add 2 more things. This is one of the Japanese nature. 67% is a forest. Forest bathing was born in Japan. Forest bathing has a lot of health benefits. Reduce stress, anxiety, depression. Enhance natural killer activities, such as natural killer cells and anti-cancer proteins. So forest bathing is very, very popular nowadays, especially Western people are much more interested in forest bathing. And also the spirituality. This is very interesting, you might think. 98% people are non-religious in Japan, but Japanese spirituality is not religious thing. It's rather more like nature or daily life based on Buddhist idea or a Confucianism idea. So they know how to calm down. That is actually cultivated in their long history. And then during the education, since we were born, in family members, parents teach. So it's a sort of a teaching manners, but that is the part of the discipline Japanese have. That is the spirituality, I feel. Mindfulness is everywhere in Japan. Japan is filled with temples and shrines. It's normal. Everywhere, wherever you go, you can easily find temples and shrines. There's a lot of greens, dark greens, beautiful, and it's a nice oxygen. So mindfulness is also everywhere in Japan. And then definitely food. Food is the magic of Japan. It's maybe, of course, a long history. They didn't consume meat, basically plant-based diet. However, they didn't increase the consumption of fat, sugar, meat daily until today. That's very amazing. So there's a lot of Japanese cuisine cookbook. If you're interested in, please pick up one. And if you are interested in scholarly about Japanese Dietary transition. This is, I highly recommend. I use this book a lot for my dissertation writing. The Japan's dietary transition and its impact. The author is Vaclav Smil, that's the same very famous author about the numbers don't lie, and also the Mr. Kobayashi, Dr. Katsuhiko Kobayashi. I highly recommend this book. So this is a photograph I took in June in Tokyo at my kindergarten I attended. That is temple, and there's a lot of greens and a nice statue. I didn't notice that. So I'm helping Japanese Society of Lifestyle Medicine grow in Japan. If you're interested in, visit our website, lifestylemedicinejapan.org, and we have a social media. And we post one article, very updated, recent article per month. So please follow us so that you can catch up the newest research. And this is my husband and I, and why I came to the lifestyle medicine. It's obvious. My husband is American, from Midwest. The food is more meat, pizza. While I was born in Tokyo, grew up in Tokyo, I spent 40 years in Japan. So raw fish is a main. People love raw fish in Japan. Actually, I can't eat raw fish though. So thank you very much for your attention. And thank you very much for having me for the very important first international life medicine conference of the Pakistan Association of Lifestyle Medicine. Congratulations for the Pakistan Association of Lifestyle Medicine. I'm very honored to be part of this conference, and I would like to invite you all, please visit Japan, please experience forest bathing and washoku, and I would like you to experience them, and I would like you to taste fun, good food. So please, this is my email, so please feel free to email me if you have any questions. And also, I have Instagram, JSLM_T, JSLM_T. I post several articles, so that if you are interested in, please connect with my Instagram. So at the end, I'd like to ask you 3 questions. I always ask 3 questions at the conference to the audience. Number 1, summarize what you learned from this session today. Number 2, which elements you may want to use in your field, in your practice, in your country. Number 3, what do you feel now? What do you feel now? This is 3 questions from Tamami Shirai. If you want to answer, please email me, and I would be happy to connect with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tamami Shirai, to share this valuable information. No doubt, application of lifestyle medicine is very important, and the Japanese longevity is also based on this practice: predominant plant-based diet, exercise, tambaku cessation, and regular medical checkup. Now, I would like to invite my second participant, Dr. Shireen Kasam. Dr. Shireen is the consultant hematologist and senior lecturer at King's College Hospital, London, with special interest in the treatment of patients with lymphoma, cancer of lymphatic system. She will discuss the topic lifestyle medicine approach for cancer prevention and survival. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the invitation to speak today on a topic I'm really passionate about, the importance of lifestyle medicine for cancer prevention and survival. Just a short introduction about myself. I work here in the UK in London as a consultant haematologist. I'm also a certified lifestyle medicine physician. I am founder of 2 non-profit organisations here in the UK. The first was Plant-Based Health Professionals UK, which is an education and advocacy organisation dedicated to providing evidence-based education on healthy plant-based diets. And just this year, I co-founded with my friend and colleague, Dr. Laura Freeman, Plant-Based Health Online, which is a virtual online healthcare service providing lifestyle medicine interventions here in the UK. I also work at Manchester University, where I provide an online certification course for healthcare professionals that I'll talk about just at the end of the talk. And I've been vegan for more than 8 years. You can find out more about me from my websites listed here. Although I mainly treat people with lymphoma, I'm not really going to talk about that today, but if you wanted to read a bit more about the impact of diet specifically on the risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, I published a review article in the first edition of the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention. What I hope to cover today is the role of nutrition and lifestyle for cancer prevention, and discuss the impact of nutrition and lifestyle approaches for improving quality of life and survival after a cancer diagnosis. So when I see patients in clinic with a diagnosis of lymphoma, they've actually all asked me the same sort of questions. And this is relevant to all cancer diagnoses. Is it something I did? Is it genetic? Is there anything I can do to improve my chances? And I've got a very short period of time today to talk about some important topics, but I'll try and summarize the key points. Just as a means of background, cancer is the second leading cause of death globally, with 1 in 6 deaths caused by cancer, and approximately 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 people born right now will develop cancer in their lifetime. The numbers do differ based on country profiles. The commonest sites are lung, breast, prostate, colorectal cancer, skin, and stomach. But at best, or at most, our genes contribute to 10% or less of cases, whereas most international organizations state that 40% of cases, if not more, are preventable through the adoption of healthy lifestyle habits. Here in the UK, we have an excellent cancer research organisation, and this graphic is from their website. And they state again that more than 4 out of 10 cases could be prevented. And these are the main lifestyle factors. So tobacco smoking, being an unhealthy weight, not eating enough fruits and vegetables, unsafe exposure to the sun, alcohol consumption, and lack of physical activity. When we consider cancer risk in Pakistan, the statistics are very different from Western countries like the UK. At the moment, cancer as a cause of death is relatively low, but what we know is that there is a rising incidence with around 180,000 new cases of cancer a year. And the common subtypes are lung, breast, colorectal cancer, lip, esophagus, and cervix. And in fact, Pakistan has one of the highest incidences of breast cancer for any Asian population. And there are efforts being made to address cancer prevention through the National Cancer Control Council. But there are many myths that are prevalent still around cancer, and most people are very fearful about cancer, and it's not widely discussed. What's clear is certain risk factors are highly prevalent, such as smoking, particularly in males, and also physical inactivity, particularly in females. Now, of course, not every cancer is preventable, but certain cancers have a high level of preventability, and colorectal cancer is a very good example of this, where more than 50% of cases could be prevented if we ate more fibre, if we didn't eat red and processed meat, and if we were all a healthy weight. Breast cancer, for example, about a quarter of cases could be prevented if we adopted healthy lifestyle behaviours. And unfortunately, certain cancers, such as colorectal cancer, the incidence is rising in the young throughout the Western world, in fact. And it's happened at a rate that's too fast to be accounted for by genetic changes. And most people feel that the rise in incidence in young people is really due to change in lifestyle with our unhealthy diet and our sedentary lifestyle and the consequent change in our gut microbiome. But more work needs to be done in this area. The World Cancer Research Fund has very clear guidance on risk factors that lead to cancer and hence cancer prevention guidelines. And there are 9 main factors that they pay attention to in their report, and this is from 2018. And you'll see that 5 out of 9 of them are related to our diet. But going around from the left to the right of the semicircle, they recommend be a healthy weight, be physically active, eat a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and beans. This is a predominantly plant-based diet. Limit fast food and processed food. Limit consumption of red and processed meat. I would say avoid, because processed red meat has been classified as a group 1 carcinogen and red meat as a probable carcinogen. Limit consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages. Limit alcohol consumption, and I'll come back to that. Do not use supplements for cancer prevention. I don't have much time to cover this topic, but there is no supplement that has been shown to prevent cancer, and really we should be using our food as the main means of obtaining our key nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients. For mothers, where it's relevant, breastfeed if you can, because this has benefits for mother and baby. And of course, after a diagnosis of cancer, these recommendations are even more important. If you haven't had the chance to do so already, the American Cancer Society Guideline for Diet and Physical Activity for Cancer Prevention is really essential reading, published in 2019, and really clearly summarizes everything you need to know about the topic. I've made a summary here in the table of the key points, but they're very much like the Cancer Research Fund guidance, which really recommend a plant-based diet pattern whilst limiting red and processed meat, limiting sugar-sweetened beverages and processed foods, and ideally avoiding alcohol. There is no safe limit for cancer prevention. Maintaining a healthy body weight, physical activity, and of course, we're all familiar with the fact that we should be avoiding smoking. There are some areas where we might need more evidence, but there is a cancer preventing impact of certain other foods and drinks like coffee, for example, and soya. I've added green tea here because I think there's some powerful data, although we probably need more, stronger data before it's incorporated into guidelines. And, paying attention to other aspects of lifestyle medicine are equally important. And it's useful because they also go through some commonly asked questions by patients and the public and clearly answer these in the guidelines. For me, what is not paid attention to often enough is the fact that underlying chronic illness, some of our commonest ones like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, inflammatory conditions like arthritis, all contribute to an increased risk of cancer as well. And I don't think this is paid enough attention to. This large study from Taiwan followed more than 400,000 participants for over 8 years. And what they showed was that both underlying chronic illness and lifestyle factors were a key factor in cancer development and also contributed to cancer mortality. So common chronic diseases accounted for more than a fifth of new cancer cases and more than a third of cancer deaths. And combined, if you had the unhealthy lifestyle habits and underlying chronic disease, this would shorten life by 13 to 16 years. But interestingly, even if you had a number of these unhealthy lifestyle factors and chronic illnesses, physical activity was able to reduce this excess risk by a whopping 40%. So that's really important to emphasize. And I think what's becoming clearer is that these guidelines really do work in real life. This is data from 2 Swedish population-based cohorts with more than 50,000 men and women who were followed for more than 15 years. And there were almost 13,000 cases of cancer during this follow-up. And they looked at adherence to this population to the cancer prevention guidelines. And what they found was that each of those cancer prevention guidelines contributed to a 3 to 4% lower risk of developing cancer. And those people within the cohort who are most adherent to these recommendations had a 15% reduction in cancer over the follow-up period. And you have to note that most people, so most being more than 90%, did not meet the 2018 guidelines for cancer prevention. So just imagine how much more we could do if population level we were following the cancer prevention guidelines. And just thinking about genetic risk and the impact of healthy lifestyle habits if you are at a higher genetic risk of certain cancers, this particular study looked at the combination of genetic risk and lifestyle habits in colorectal cancer, and it included nearly 350,000 participants in the UK Biobank cohort, followed for almost 6 years, and they looked at a polygenic risk score created using 95 genetic risk variants and correlated this with 8 lifestyle factors according to the American Cancer Society guidelines that I've covered. And what the results showed was that healthy lifestyles significantly reduce the risk of colorectal cancer in all genetic groups, so regardless whether you're low or high risk. But in particular, those at the highest genetic risk had a 42% reduction in colorectal cancer risk with healthy lifestyle habits. So much so that the authors conclude, our study provides strong evidence to support lifestyle modification for colorectal cancer primary prevention. And there's similar data for other cancers such as breast cancer and prostate cancer. Another study just highlighting the immense power of healthy lifestyle habits for cancer prevention are highlighted here. This is data from the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study, including more than 170,000 men and women followed for more than 30 years. And the researchers looked at 5 healthy lifestyle factors: never smoking, healthy weight, healthy diet, physical activity, and moderate rather than excessive alcohol consumption. And in the right-hand table, you can see the definition of a healthy diet as defined by the Alternate Healthy Eating Index, where positive marks are given to high intakes of whole plant foods and omega-3 fatty acids, and positive marks are given to low intakes of red and processed meat, processed foods in general, and sugar-sweetened beverages. What the researchers were able to show was that people following the healthiest diet after 30 years of follow-up had a 30% reduced risk of cancer mortality. But if they were following all 5 healthy lifestyle factors, there was a 65% reduction in the risk of dying from cancer, which is huge. And they were able to show that life expectancy at the age of 50 was 12 to 14 years longer in those who had adopted 5 healthy lifestyle factors. And this was an extra decade of life lived in good health rather than with chronic disease. I wanted to just make a mention about alcohol because I think there's a lot of misconception. In the cancer prevention guidelines, it's quite clear it is best not to drink alcohol, and 5 to 6% of cancers globally are caused by excessive alcohol consumption. And more, we are realizing that alcohol also does not contribute to heart health, and more so it's the grapes and the antioxidants and the resveratrol that is causing any benefit. So I think we have to be clear in our messaging. There are clear reasons why alcohol may cause cancer. For example, ethanol and its metabolite, acetaldehyde, can damage DNA and protein. Alcohol generates reactive oxygen species, which damages DNA, proteins, and lipids. Alcohol impairs the absorption of certain nutrients, which are important in cancer prevention. It increases blood estrogen levels. It acts as a solvent, so it increases the uptake of carcinogens into cells. It alters the gut microbiome adversely. Alcohol may shorten the length of telomeres. It affects gene expression through epigenetic modification in an adverse way. And it also synergizes with tobacco to increase further the risk of cancer. So whilst we're thinking about cancer prevention in general, it's just worth noting the mechanisms at play in cancer generation that are modified and mitigated by a healthy diet and lifestyle. So, for example, we know that these factors are increasing our risk of cancer, and this includes insulin resistance, oxidative stress, which is caused by unhealthy lifestyles. Inflammation, of course, is at the core of every chronic disease, including cancer. An unhealthy gut microbiome increases our risk of cancer. Hormone and growth factor dysregulation. What I mean by this is our diet and lifestyle can lead to elevations of hormones such as estrogen, which drives female cancers, and also insulin-like growth factor, which is implicated in increased risk of cancer development. We know that healthy lifestyles can healthy lifestyles can alter gene expression, and the opposite is true for unhealthy lifestyle, causing an adverse impact on gene expression. And our lifestyle can impact the length of telomeres, with unhealthy diet and lack of exercise contributing to shorter telomere length. So I come back to the fact that the focus for cancer prevention really needs to be a public health message and work into changing behaviours on an individual and a population level. We need to be concentrating on a healthy diet pattern in general and not individual foods. And these diet patterns need to be culturally appropriate. We need to raise public awareness through public health campaigns and education, and this includes better education for healthcare professionals. We need to address social, economic, and cultural factors that are important in our lifestyle choices. We need to advocate for and implement policy and environmental changes that increase accessibility and affordability of nutritious foods, that provide safe, enjoyable access to spaces for physical activity, and we need clear messaging on alcohol consumption. So I just wanted to say a brief word about lifestyle interventions during cancer treatment. We need more work on this, but we do know so far that a healthy diet and physical activity with paying attention to sleep and stress relieving activities really does positively impact our patients with cancer. And I just wanted to highlight a particular area that I find fascinating. It's really about the health of the gut microbiome. And we know that a number of modifiable risk factors impact the health of the gut microbiome. First and foremost, our diet choices. A fiber-rich diet is key for maintaining a healthy gut microbiome, but so is physical activity, avoiding unnecessary medications, our other environmental exposures, and of course, psychosocial stress. What's becoming more and more apparent is that for certain types of treatments, particularly those that are used to harness the power of our own immune system, known as immunotherapy, so this includes stem cell transplantation in my specialty, or certain newer antibody treatments such as anti-programmed death 1 antibody that really tries to activate the patient's own immune system, that response to these treatments can be improved by paying attention to the gut microbiome. We are still early in this area of research, but I thought this study was really interesting to highlight and really gives us some evidence to support our patients to adopt healthy lifestyle behaviours even during cancer treatment. So this study particularly looked at 52 patients undergoing solid tumour treatment with PD-1 inhibitors. So as I say, that activates our senescent T cells. What they did was evaluate fecal and plasma short-chain fatty acids, which we know are a marker of gut health, with higher levels, meaning that we've got better gut microbiome. Diet information was analysed and correlated with these levels, and patients were followed up for a median of 2 years. And what the researchers found was that patients with higher levels of these short-chain fatty acids, which are produced by the healthy gut microbiome, had a longer progression-free survival. And in particular, certain foods were associated with these higher concentration of short-chain fatty acids. And they're sort of the predictable ones. They're the fiber-rich foods, such as green vegetables, cabbage, and mushrooms. And actually, mushrooms alone were also associated with longer progression-free survival. And what the data really show is that short-chain fatty acids may have the ability to modulate the effects of these newer immunomodulatory treatments. So I think it's really important to pay attention to healthy diet, particularly during cancer treatment. To modify the gut microbiome in patients with cancer, researchers are looking at fecal transplantation. And what this very small first-in-man study did was transplant patients who are refractory to treatment for melanoma with a healthy gut microbiome, so a fecal transplant. And in the 10 patients in the study, there was a signal that responses to treatment may be improved. Now, of course, as a lifestyle medicine physician, what I would say is, what about a fiber-rich diet intervention? And I think we need to pay attention to this. So what's clearer is that lifestyle approaches after a cancer diagnosis and after treatment are really important. This is going back to a study by Dr. Dean Ornish, who really is the founding father of lifestyle medicine. I'm sure you've come across this study of 93 patients with early stages of prostate cancer who didn't require conventional treatment at the time and were assigned to just watchful waiting. These 93 people were randomized to the Ornish lifestyle medicine program, a bit like the lifestyle heart trial, where people underwent a healthy plant-based diet, regular stress-relieving activities, physical activity, and stopping smoking. And the control group just carried on their usual lifestyle behaviors and advice from their physician. And what the study showed was that after 1 year, which is shown in the graph, the control group continued to have an increase in the prostate-specific antigen level, whereas in the lifestyle intervention group, the PSA level had gone down, and albeit by a small amount, but it was statistically significant. But what's more important is that after 2 years follow-up, 27% of the control group had to go on to have conventional cancer treatment, which would be surgery or radiation, whereas only 5% of the lifestyle group had undergone conventional treatment. In a similar study of patients following Dr. Ornish's healthy lifestyle habits for 3 months, what the researchers were able to show was that there were changes in peripheral blood mononuclear cells and in the gene expression profile in prostate cancer cells. So on the left-hand side, we can see an experiment that's looked at telomerase activity in peripheral blood mononuclear cells at both baseline on the left-hand bar and at 3 months in the right-hand bar. And you can see an increase in the telomerase activity, indicating lengthening of the caps of the chromosome called telomeres. In the right-hand panel is a before and after gene expression profile of prostate cancer biopsies in these patients with early stages of prostate cancer. And the results showed that there were changes in expression in 500 different genes, with cancer suppressor genes being turned on and cancer promoting genes being turned off. So this is really remarkable. And just hot off the press from JAMA Journal, a study was done in 52 men with, again, early stages of prostate cancer. And this was specifically an exercise intervention of high-intensity exercise training. And what the researchers were able to show was that just after 12 weeks of the intervention, there was a significant decrease in prostate-specific antigen levels and the velocity of rise. And also they took serum from these patients and put them over prostate cancer cells in the laboratory and showed decreased rate of growth. So again, really remarkable. Just to focus in on exercise specifically, it's a really important part of cancer prevention and survival. And we know that with physical activity, 13 cancers could be reduced in risk, and they are listed here from some of our commonest ones, such as bowel cancer, to some rarer ones, such as plasma cell myeloma. And we know that exercise impacts many aspects of our health, helps promote a healthful weight, it reduces insulin resistance, it brings down estrogen levels, reduces inflammation and oxidative stress, it promotes the action of our immune function, it alters the metabolism of bile acids and decreases exposure of the GI tract to suspected carcinogens. It alters favorably gene expression, it prevents the shortening of telomeres, and we know that it supports a reduced risk of cancer recurrence in the longer term. There are some really excellent guidelines published in 2019 about exercise for cancer survivors specifically. And just some headline messages from this, that there's strong evidence that exercise during and after cancer treatment can reduce anxiety, depression, fatigue, and improve health-related quality of life and physical function. And there's some evidence that exercise is also beneficial, of course, for bone health and sleep quality. Specifically looking at the commonest cancers, so the guideline states that for breast cancer, survivors who are the most physically active have approximately 40% lower risk of death from any cause and death after breast cancer. And it's a very similar story for colorectal cancer and prostate cancer. So it's really important to reiterate. And this large study published in the BMJ, again, looked at the impact of exercise on various outcomes and causes of death, but specifically looking in at cancer, you can see with the pink dot and error bars that both aerobic and muscle strengthening activity significantly reduces the risk of dying from cancer. And if you do both aerobic and muscle strengthening activities, then cancer risk or dying of cancer could be reduced by 40%, which is an enormous impact. What is also worth highlighting is the impact of longer-term treatments. Certainly in my specialty and other cancers, it's becoming more common to use maintenance or long-term treatment to reduce the risk of recurrence or maintain remission. And these treatments are being shown to increase the risk of other sort of underlying chronic conditions, particularly cardiovascular disease. But here I highlight meta-analysis related to the use of tamoxifen and fatty liver disease in women following breast cancer treatment. And what the study showed was that the prevalence of fatty liver in those women taking tamoxifen was 40%, which is 3 times higher in patients with breast cancer not taking tamoxifen. But what was also noted is that the risk of fatty liver was really related to having a higher body mass index and higher cholesterol levels. And so I think lifestyle interventions really play an important part in improving survivorship and health and well-being after cancer diagnosis, to try and mitigate some of these longer-term side effects of treatment. Another important point to highlight is that it's clear that the same risk factors that are contributing to getting cancer the first time around are also increasing the risk of second cancer in the same individuals. This large study of 1.5 million adult cancer survivors in the United States showed that adult cancer survivors, of course, had an increased risk of developing and dying of another cancer. And as I say, the similar risk factors a second time around, particularly in this cohort, was increased risk of cancers related to tobacco smoking and obesity-related cancers being important for the second time around. So cancer survivorship really needs to be paid attention to. Now, I don't have much time to highlight other aspects of lifestyle medicine, but they really are also very important, although there's less evidence supporting this. But just to highlight a couple of complementary or alternate treatments, I think stress management during and after cancer diagnosis is hugely important. We know that chronic stress really does adversely impact health really at a cellular level and increases the risk of chronic illness and also increases the risk of cancer progression and metastases and reduces the quality of life and survival. And I highlight this particular article on this topic. And there has been meta-analysis to show that mindfulness-based interventions can really help with anxiety during cancer treatments. So really do highlight this to your patients. Another area that's not used very much, certainly in the UK, but may have a place during cancer treatment is the use of acupuncture or acupressure. And this systematic review and meta-analysis again showed that there was a benefit for cancer-related pain and supported the decreased use of more conventional analgesic medications. So just to summarize some ongoing challenges, we have a rising burden of cancer globally, an aging population, so the increased risk of cancer for that reason too. But there's also a rising incidence in the young, which is undoubtedly in part related to the prevalence of unhealthy lifestyle habits. There, in my view, there is an overemphasis on treatment versus prevention, and money is mostly spent on developing treatments that will benefit only a few, and poor investment by policymakers in making healthy lifestyles and environments accessible to all communities. And I think this is where we as healthcare professionals really need to be leading the change and advocating for better public health policies. Because at the end of the day, a large proportion of cancers are preventable. Unhealthy diets are a major contributing factor, and diet and lifestyle interventions can have a significant impact on cancer outcomes. So if anyone wants to join myself and my colleagues here in the UK on a course that's available globally and also counts towards maintaining the American College of Lifestyle Medicine certification as well, I run an online course called Plant-Based Nutrition, a Sustainable Diet for Optimal Health through Winchester University, as I say, available globally. So do have a look at the website and join us when you're next available. Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shiri. Your presentation was very informative and helpful to understand the main causes and even then preventive techniques for cancer. Now, there is a time for small activity to activate yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Azhar Rasool from 4th year MBBS Islamic International Medical College. And I am here to know that how many of you have done your breakfast. Please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Now I request Vice Principal Brigadier Maqsood Al Hassan to please give us some tips about healthy breakfast so we may assess that how many of us has actually done our breakfast right. Please, sir. Okay, that's it.
To allow myself the cheat day. And that cheat day is with kebab or some curry and a paratha. But that paratha is made with desi ghee, which is specially from the source. That's the breakfast. I think it should be plant-based, generally nuts and legumes. And by and large, but the underlying principle is breakfast should never be. That I ensure for myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. In addition to this, eating breakfast shortly after awakening, 30 to 45 minutes, may help to shift wake-up time earlier. Eating a healthy, complex, carbohydrate-rich breakfast improves sleep-wakefulness transition. Our awakening cortisol spike is entertained by food anticipation. So again, it's important to eat an early and healthy carbohydrate-rich breakfast. A balanced nutrition is important pillar of lifestyle medicine. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite my third participant, Dr. Anita Kankar. She is working as a primary care physician in Los Angeles from 25 years, including 20 years in solo practice, Landmark Family Medical Clinic. Her medical practice focused on preventive care, including pediatric vaccination, women health, and chronic disease care using lifestyle interventions. Welcome, ma'am.
A very good morning to all of you. I'm so excited to be part of this International Lifestyle Medicine Conference. I'm so glad to be here with all of you, embarking on this journey of lifestyle medicine. This will not only help your patients thrive, but also helps your health and your journey as well. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm so glad the organizers chose this topic, sleep well for reversing diabetes mellitus. Sleep is such an important part of our health, and it's an underutilized prescription. I wanted to share this picture of me. This was a few years ago. I did a trek to Everest Base Camp. Sleep is associated with dreams, and my dream is. One of my dreams is to hike the beautiful mountain ranges of Pakistan. Hope I'll do that soon. Some of the topics that we'll be covering today is the importance of sleep, the functions of sleep, impact of sleep on biomarkers, and the clinical relevance of sleep in diabetes, and some evidence and studies. Lifestyle medicine is all about evidence-based, so I've included a few studies as well, and some practical sleep prescriptions, which you can help your patients with. So in lifestyle medicine, we all know the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, and sleep is given equal importance as much as the other ones like whole food plant-based or physical activity, managing stress. So let's look into all the importance of sleep. Usually sleep is perceived as a waste of time, and our society thinks if you sleep less, you're more strong. And, so we have to remind our patients that, and to tell them that 1/3 of their life is spent sleeping. So we have to give sleep as much importance as what they would do in their daytime. We all know how traditional risk factors like overweight, family history, physical inactivity, they affect in the development of diabetes. We also know certain sleep disorders like insomnia, obstructive sleep apnea, and shift workers have increased risk for diabetes. So there's meta-analysis was done to compare the sleep disorder risk with traditional risk factors. And they found that they both are comparable. That means the risk of developing diabetes associated with sleep disturbances is comparable to that of the traditional risk factors like overweight or physical inactivity. And so they are, in conclusion, they also recommend that sleep disturbances should be considered as clinical guidelines for type 2 diabetes screening, just like other things, physical inactivity and stuff like that. So the clinical relevance of this study is poor sleep is comparable to physical inactivity in the development of diabetes. So if anyone with pre-diabetes comes in, we tell them about the diet, physical activity. We have to give sleep equally importance, because the risk of diabetes with poor sleep, that is less than 7 or more than 9 hours per day, is comparable to physical inactivity. Sleep is important as it not only increases glucose levels and blood pressure, it also increases hunger, and it's linked with obesity. It's the increased risk of dementia and Alzheimer's, and there's the decreased immune markers due to lack of sleep, and increased risk of getting infections. It also affects mood disorders like depression and anxiety. Disruptions in the biological clock will increase the risk of certain cancers, and the short sleep is also associated with certain cancers. This, can anyone guess which, this is a picture of a Bollywood movie. And I'll give you a clue. It is Shah Rukh Khan tries to get electricity for a village. So these sleep problems all started in the last 100 years with the invention of electricity. Our grandparents slept 1 to 2 hours more than us, and we sleep one sleep cycle less than them. I hope some of you guessed. You're right. The movie name is Swadesh. So let's see why do we sleep, the functions of sleep. This is a picture of my cat sleeping on this book. I would recommend everyone to read this book, Why We Sleep, by Matthew Walker. And this slide I got from Dr. Param. You can see some of his sleep videos, very informative. So the functions of sleep are, it's to restore the brain and body functions, reset, it regulates some ion channels, repair all these damaged cells, which will help in physiological growth. Anti-inflammatory, all the inflammatory markers are reduced in good sleep. So it reduces a lot of inflammatory diseases, chronic inflammatory diseases. We all know how less sleep causes hypertension and also heart disease. It helps in neuroplasticity and memory. We all know how good sleep improves memory. And the mood disorders like anxiety and depression are reduced with good sleep, and joy is very important. It connects us physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the most important one, energy. It depletes all our energy stores, and we are ready for the next day. So this is a diagram of our sleep cycles, which most of you already know. But you can see how each cycle, the duration and the stages are different. The REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, goes on, the duration increases late in the night and early morning. So the functions also are different in each cycle. Usually in the beginning cycle, it's usually repair of the tissues and cells. And in the last cycles, it's mental and emotional clearing. In the beginning, usually it is just the facts are stored, but the connections are made in the later cycles. So creativity, problem solving, all those occur in the later cycles. So if we lose one cycle, if we sleep less and one cycle is lost, then all those functions are lost. Usually in exercise, we are able to catch up, like one day if you exercise less, next day you can do more, but in sleep, you cannot catch up the functions which are lost. So that's why it is recommended you have to have 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day. This is a diagram of our thought system, the central and peripheral circadian rhythm, how they work, with the inputs being light and the nutrients, which can signal peripheral organs directly, and how these affect our feeding, the sleep wakefulness cycle, our temperature maintenance, energy metabolism, and our hormone regulation. Now let's look at the impact of sleep on biomarkers. There are no specific biomarkers to detect sleep deficiency, but there are many chemical abnormalities that can be detected commonly under sleep deprivation. This is an excellent article which looks into different studies to study the glucose metabolism pathways which are affected by sleep. In one of the studies, they saw they were able to make 3 out of 10 healthy subjects pre-diabetic within 10 days of sleep deprivation. That's pretty significant. Actually, in my practice, I've some of my patients with diabetes who are not, whom I suspect they are not sleeping enough. I tell them to check their blood glucose levels in the morning when they sleep well and when they don't sleep well, and they do tell me that glucose levels are higher when they sleep less, that is less than 7 hours. Also, there are other studies they looked into where their sleep recovery, when they had sleep recovery, these glucose levels, the higher glucose levels got reversed. Based on all the studies, they looked into different pathways which cause the abnormal glucose metabolism. So, brain uses glucose as the primary fuel for energy generation, and during insomnia due to different causes, there is decreased brain glucose utilization causing hyperglycemia. And there are other ways. There is increase in pathetic activity. The cortisol rhythm is changed, and growth hormone also, which causes decreased beta cell function or increased insulin resistance. Also, the inflammatory markers are raised, and the most important one is the adipocyte function. They play a pivotal role in the regulation of the energy balance, and especially in sleep restriction, their function gets altered. And you can see the leptin, which is actually produced from the adipocytes. So there's decreased leptin production, increased ghrelin, which causes increased appetite, and this can lead to obesity, increased insulin resistance, and which can lead to hyperglycemia and type 2 diabetes. So these are the other markers which you can see: increased serum and urine norepinephrine and epinephrine concentrations. There's increased serum cholesterol, increased leukocyte, especially the neutrophils, and monocyte count. This is linked with cardiac disease. And there are many pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are like IL-1, 6, and decreased melatonin SC. And the appetite hormones, the important ones, the increase in ghrelin and decreased leptin. Ghrelin and leptin are the two important hormones which are affected by sleep. Sleep deprivation increases the hormone ghrelin, which makes you hungry. It's called the hunger hormone. And leptin is the satiety hormone, which gets suppressed during sleep. So during sleep restriction, it's seen leptin decreased by 18% and ghrelin is increased by 28%. These changes are associated with increased hunger by up to 23% and increase in appetite for carbohydrate-rich foods. So what it means is less sleep, increased calorie intake, and in normal sleep, there's decreased calorie intake. So it's not only an increase in the number of calories, even the type of calories we eat is altered. We usually crave for more sugary and fatty foods. And in one of the studies, they did MRI and they saw the reward pathways light up to high calorie foods, such as fatty and sugary foods. Caffeine is one of the most common substances which we use, which causes sleep difficulty. It's a psychoactive drug, most commonly used. So let's see how it causes insomnia. So there are two main factors which determine our sleep. One is circadian rhythm, which we all know about. The other one is the sleep pressure. So what happens is adenosine builds up in the brain, which will make you feel sleepy. So caffeine is the adenosine receptor agonist. So it binds with the adenosine receptors, and then you don't feel sleepy anymore. When the caffeine breaks down, the receptors open up to the adenosine, and then more adenosine has been built up, and and then you feel more sleepy. So caffeine mean half-life is about 5.5 hours. That's why it is very important to tell patients to drink, if they are drinking coffee before 3 p.m. We have to look into other caffeine products like energy drinks, especially the people who go to the gym, they drink a lot of energy drinks, even students. So even green tea has a little bit of caffeine. So we have to look into those products. This is a study where they looked into the timing of food intake, which is associated with body fat. They had about 110 participants, and they looked at the timing of their food intake and the fat. So they studied for about 30 days, and they saw the non-lean individuals, that is the ones who have high body fat, they consume most of their calories 1.1 or closer to the melatonin onset compared to the lean people. So this was independent of the traditional risk factors, such as the amount or the content of food and activity level. So the timing of the food is also very important. Here you can see the glucose values when they were given identical meals at different time of the day. The meals included 43% of carbohydrates, and you can see how the glucose levels are different. The area under the curve in the later meal, that's in the dinner, is almost 2 times larger than the one in the morning. We have heard how intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating helps in diabetes, blood pressure, and to lower cholesterol. So they looked into, this was a trial with 10 patients who had metabolic syndrome. Their weight circumference was high, blood pressure was high, glucose and triglycerides were high, and low HDL cholesterol. They were all medications, and they were eating for about 14 hours within 14 hours. And then they were given 10-hour time restricted eating. And then in this study, they actually didn't tell them to do plant-based diet. They were just eating their regular diet, but within 10 hours. And they reduced their body weight, waist circumference, blood pressure, everything, even including the hemoglobin A1C. And they also, the restful sleep was increased. Some people say that this is mainly due to calorie restriction and not due to time-restricted eating. But either way, patients are benefited. So it's a very important tool to encourage our patients to do. Not only to the last meal should be before 7 p.m., but also they can, have limited time-restricted eating. Melatonin administration has shown to impair glucose tolerance in both morning and evening. In the morning, by decreasing insulin release, and in the evening, there is decreased insulin sensitivity. In lifestyle medicine, we try to avoid giving supplements, but recently with COVID, melatonin is being used in helping to prevent or also in the treatment of COVID. It's also used increasingly for insomnia after COVID. So, especially for diabetes, patients with diabetes, you have to use cautiously. So, you have to, while administering melatonin, the proximity to meal timing should be considered, particularly the ones who have glucose intolerance. While we know elevated melatonin decreases glucose tolerance, they have seen with high melatonin during fasting, it may facilitate beta cell recovery. So, if you're prescribing melatonin, it should be in very small doses. We have to remember it helps with sleep onset, and it's not a sleeping pill. It's helpful for night owls to shift. Then you can tell them to take 2 hours after the last meal, and it should be given 1 to 2 hours before sleep. About 3% of American workforce do work in the third shift or the graveyard shift. Even more work late night. Even for doctors, it's unavoidable, especially in some specialties. We have to do night work. Researchers used data from 2-week studies. The nurses have studied 1 and 2 with more than 100,000 persons in each study. And they found rotating night shift workers have increased risk of type 2 diabetes. So there is a positive association. And also late night workers, they're associated with greater weight gain. This study was done with healthy subjects in a controlled lab setting, and for about 5 weeks. 3 weeks they had sleep restriction, and postprandial hyperglycemia was seen. But the good news is this hyperglycemia was normalized with 9 days of recovery sleep. So people who are working late nights should be encouraged to do shifts. So it will help them to prevent chronic diseases and also help them control their diabetes. Let's look into the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, how we can get adequate sleep. Nutrition, eliminate high sodium foods, caffeine will help. And exercise should be done late afternoon or early evening. And eliminate alcohol or use 3 hours before bedtime. Stress reduction, winding down activity before sleep, like a warm bath, meditation. There's also Nitra Yoga. All these will help to get comfortable sleep, adequate sleep. A good history and physical exam will help us to personalize sleep descriptions. We can to look how obesity and sleep apnea are increased risk for insomnia. Some of the medications like decongestants, antidepressants, steroids, some stimulants, even some statins, abnormal irregular meal times, caffeine and energy drinks, alcohol, even nicotine also, and late evening exercise and stress-strainful exercise also causes insomnia. Late evening shift work and the lighting at work also will affect sleep and jet lag. These are the recommended sleep duration. For adults, it is 7 to 9 hours. For teens, it's a little bit more. And for older adults, it is a little bit less. And of course, children sleep more. Most of the patients, when you talk about sleep, they're least interested. They are in the pre-contemplative phase. But when I do tell them that sleep is linked with dementia and Alzheimer's disease, they actually pay attention. So, lymphatic system, recently this has been researched. They see a lot of brain cleanup system happens during sleep, and it removes all the materials like beta amyloid, tau protein, all those are excreted during sleep. So even 1 night of loss of sleep has shown accumulation of beta amyloid in the brain, and which is linked with Alzheimer's disease. Here are some few routines or tips which can help patients to sleep better. One is set a time, set a schedule to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. And exercise 20 to 30 minutes, but not late night. It should be late afternoon or early evening. And avoid caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine. Alcohol, you cannot take 3 hours before bed. And caffeine, try to be before 3 p.m. And nicotine also, try to avoid in the evening. And to have a relaxed some routine before bedtime, like you can take a warm bath, reading, or any other relaxing routine. The room also, you have to create it to get better sleep, like avoid bright lights, especially in the bathroom. Have low red lights. Keep it, the temperature should be comfortable, and then try not to have TV or computers. The blue lights will affect sleep. And if you're not able to sleep, don't lie in the bed awake. You have to get up and do something else, like reading or listening, and then come back to sleep. Few other specific things you can tell them is eat by 7 p.m. every day. The meal timing and even the food selection is important. And more light during daytime, less at night. You can have also reversibility for bad insomnia. You can have some background noise like fans. Some even can refer for camping therapy, like go out to nature with no electronics, and this will reset the delayed circadian rhythm for some. And these are some specific smart prescriptions which you can give. People who are taking longer naps, I tell them that the naps should be less than 30 minutes per day. Take a warm bath before bed every night. Eat by 7 p.m. every day. Avoid caffeine after 3 p.m. Avoid alcohol 3 hours before bedtime. And some exercise like walk for 30 minutes every afternoon around 5 p.m. I hope this presentation has been useful to all of you, and good luck with your exams. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
And that affect our physical and mental health. After your words, all of us will definitely rethink about your sleep habits. This was the last presentation of this session. Now I would like to invite the chairperson of this session, Professor Dr. Sadia Sultan, to conclude this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samya. I feel deeply honored, and it is my pleasure to chair this session because this whole scenario is very close to my heart. Lifestyle modification, these prevention, being a reproductive health provider, prevention of a disease or prenatal care, and all these things which prevent different situations in the society, in the community, in the health setup. These are critically important for all of us. Coming to the first presenter, Dr. Tashi Rai, if I'm pronouncing it right. She is from University of UCST, California University. My father, he graduated in late 60s. He did his master's from this university. And now my son-in-law, he is a graduate computer scientist from the same university. She is a PhD doctor, and she talked about the longevity in the people of Japan. It is a known established fact that people over there, they are living a happy, healthy life because they are, I think it is because of their lifestyle. Unka jo lifestyle hai, it is actually based on the 6 pillars of the lifestyle modification plan that is being given by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Uske andar, we have read yesterday that there is importance of exercise, plant-predominant, nutrient-filled diet. There is they are giving importance to the sleep and avoidance from alcohol and tobacco and all these harmful substances. And they are giving extreme importance to the relationships. उन्होंने जो अपनी रिसर्च थी उसमें ये बताया कि डिनर विद द फैमिली, टुगेदरनेस, सोशल रिलेशनशिप, सोशल बाइंडिंग, होम कुकिंग, ऑल दीज थिंग्स, ये चीजें जो हम भूलते जा रहे हैं. एंड कमिंग क्लोजर टू द नेचर, spirituality, these are the landmarks of their lifestyle. So we should, I think we should learn to come back to nature, to our values, and many of these things, these are being taught by Islam, and we are forgetting all these things. Dr. Shiri, she talked about cancer prevention. कैंसर आपको पता है कि अब इस वक्त इट इज द सेकंड लीडिंग कॉज ऑफ डेथ इन द वर्ल्ड आफ्टर कार्डियक कॉजेस और स्ट्रोक. कैंसर अगर सेकंड लीडिंग कॉज बन रहा है तो अभी हम लोगों को ये भी पता है कि इट इज ऑलमोस्ट ऑलवेज बाय जीन्स और जीन म्यूटेशंस, एंड दीज जीन म्यूटेशंस दे कैन बी कंट्रोल्ड बाय इट्स सिंक्रोनाइजेशन विद द एनवायरमेंटल. जो भी एनवायरनमेंट के साथ उसकी रिलेशनशिप है, उसको अगर आप चेंज करते हैं विद उसको डाइट से चेंज करते हैं या आप उसको कोई ऑल्टरनेट वे प्रोवाइड करते हैं, तो आप जीन एक्सप्रेशन को एक्चुअली चेंज कर रहे होते हैं. इसमें जो चीज मुझे सबसे ज्यादा दिल को लगी, दैट इज हर टॉक अबाउट ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग. बीइंग ऑब्स्टेट्रिशियन, we always talk about, बाकी चीजें तो आप सुन रहे हैं, डेली सुन रहे हैं, लेकिन being obstetrician, I would like to give some importance to this thing कि 6 month exclusive breastfeeding होता क्या है कि जब बच्चे को माँ का दूध नहीं दिया जाता पहले 6 महीने, तो उसकी जो इम्यून सिस्टम होता है दैट इज इमेच्योर. आप पोलियो और आप ये फॉर एग्जांपल ये जो डिफरेंट कुछ इम्यूनाइजेशन वाली चीजें जो EPI स्केड्यूल में आप 9 months पे देते हैं, तब तक वो प्रोटेक्टेड भी होता है और तब तक उसका इम्यून सिस्टम एबरेंटली बिहेव कर रहा होता है. तो अगर आप उसको मदर मिल्क के अलावा कोई और चीज देंगे तो उस बेचारे को ये नहीं समझ आएगी कि ये वाला जो एंटीजन आ रहा है ये मेरे लिए अच्छा है या बुरा है. आप उसको बेशक डब्बे वाला दूध दे दें, आप उसको बेशक टॉप फीड दे दें, उसके इम्यून सिस्टम को जब आप खराब कर देंगे, जब उसका एबरेंट बिहेवियर हो जाएगा, तो उसके बाद ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर्स भी होंगे, उसके बाद कैंसर्स भी होंगे। उस इम्यून सिस्टम को फिर पूरी जिंदगी समझ नहीं आती। फिर आप कहते हैं जी एलर्जीज इतनी ज्यादा हो गई, इतनी ज्यादा हर चीज से तो इसको एलर्जी है, एस्थमास हैं, ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर्स हैं, कैंसर्स हैं। सो आई थिंक वही बात के 2 year ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग एंड 6 month एक्सक्लूसिव ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग, दीज आर एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स एंड दी शुड बी फॉलोज इन ट्रू स्पिरिट। आजकल बाहर के मुल्कों में लोग काम करने जाते हैं, वो रेफ्रिजरेट करके चले जाते हैं, लेकिन हम यहाँ पे तो थोड़े से हम ज्यादा लाडले होते जा रहे हैं शायद। So this is all about gene expression, and it is under the influence of environment and what you are eating and आपके sleep awake cycle के साथ, और ये सारी चीजें जो हैं ये actually these are the macro rhythms of the environment which are influencing the micro rhythms in the body, and then it is influencing the homeostasis of the body. फिर आपका माइक्रोबायोम भी इफेक्ट हो जाता है, आप हाई फाइबर नहीं ले रहे, तो आपकी ब्रेन हेल्थ, आपकी हार्ट की हेल्थ एंड एवरीथिंग इज डिस्टर्ब्ड. एंड द लास्ट डॉक्टर अनीता, शी टॉक्ड अबाउट sleep, the effect of sleep on our health, on the systems of our body. जब मैंने लाइफस्टाइल मेडिसिन का कोर्स किया डॉक्टर शगुफ्ता से, तो जो चीज मुझे कहीं पे मिसिंग लग रही थी और मुझे समझ नहीं आती थी कि होता क्या है, दैट वाज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ सुप्राकियाज्मेटिक न्यूक्लियस एंड सर्कैडियन रिदम. ये सुप्राकियाज्मेटिक न्यूक्लियस और सर्कैडियन रिदम की जो ब्यूटीफुल किस्म की एक सिंक्रोनाइजेशन है, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आपका सुप्राकियाज्मेटिक न्यूक्लियस आपके सनराइज एंड सनसेट के साथ चलता है. हमारे बच्चे क्या कर रहे हैं, पूरी रात जागते रहते हैं, उसके बाद वो होम डिलीवरीज कराते रहते हैं, खाने खाते रहते हैं, उसके बाद सुबह कहीं सो जाते हैं, फिर रात को उठ जाते हैं. तो देयर इज अ डिस्कनेक्ट बिटवीन दिस सर्कैडियन रिदम एंड विद द डेली जो भी आपकी हैबिट्स हैं. सो द टाइम इज शॉर्ट, but I will conclude with the comments that happiness is the key to a healthy life, and prevention, we all know that prevention is better than cure. We should follow the main lifestyle modification plan, और जो pillars हैं lifestyle medicine के, उनको हमें follow करना चाहिए, और ये सारी चीजें हमें सोचनी चाहिए. We are the nation which is having the highest incidence of diabetes in the world. दुनिया में एशियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट से ज्यादा डायबिटीज कहीं नहीं है. हम कहते हैं ना कि डायबिटीज का मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम का सुनामी आ रहा है, वो आ नहीं रहा, वो एक्चुअली आ गया हुआ है. और ये अभी मेरी प्री कंसेप्शन की टॉक में हम इसको फिर थोड़ा सा और एलैबोरेट करेंगे. लेकिन टू एड्रेस दीज थिंग्स, मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम, अबाउट ऑल दीज जो भी हमारी ये इन्फ्लेमेटरी डिसऑर्डर्स हैं, अब ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर्स हैं, ये सारी चीजें, ये जो तीनों टॉक्स थी, एक्चुअली ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर इंटरलिंक्ड. सो थैंक यू सो मच, एंड विल मीट इन अनदर सेशन. आई विल टॉक अबाउट प्रीकंसेप्शन केयर. थैंक यू सो मच. थैंक्स अ लॉट.
Thank you, Dr. Sadia. Now I request to Dr. Rabia Hanif to conclude the session. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much for the privilege. First of all, I would like to thank the chairperson. She has already concluded it very precisely. I will start up with the proverb. बचपन से हम सुनते आए हैं, एहतियात इलाज से बेहतर है. So with the conference theme, and after co-chairing this session, in which 3 presenters have markedly highlighted the important lifestyle changes that we need to make. So if we talk about the first session, जिसमें बात की गई थी about longevity in Japan. So जैसा कि presenter ने बताया और मैम ने conclude किया, different medicine, different food factors and lifestyle changes are helping them to improve their longevity. उसमें I was thinking कि हमारे यहाँ problem कहाँ पे आती है कि जब हम अवेयरनेस सेशन कर देते हैं, इंफॉर्मेशन भी चली जाती है, बट प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट्स विद द फॉलोइंग दैट थिंग. आप सुन तो लेते हैं, समझ भी लेते हैं, लेकिन उस पर अमल और उसके बाद कंसिस्टेंसी कि आप उसके साथ, और फिर फॉलो अप. So these are the things that, so we need to make culturally appropriate interventions where we can motivate our people to incorporate changes after having those awareness sessions and seminars. So I'll be talking about the next session in which Dr. Shiri did talk about prevention of cancer. So different factors जो कि पहली presentation में address हुए थे already, food factors, economic factors, physical inactivity जो कि promote कर रहे हैं towards cancer. और अगर हम पाकिस्तान की बात करें with reference to, so Pakistan is one of the leading country among the Asian countries to be at the top of cancer. तो हमें यहाँ बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत इस बात की है कि इंटरवेंशन जो है हमें अब करनी है. उसके साथ साथ उन्होंने फर्दर इस पे हाईलाइट किया कि साइकोसोशल स्ट्रेस जो कि आफ्टर इफ आई टॉक अबाउट कोविड के बाद ये चीज फर्दर बढ़ी. वो पूरा फेज जो हमने 1 साल का गुजारा जिसमें एक फियर की कैफियत रही और फिर साथ साथ ओवरनाइट पैराडाइम शिफ्ट आया ऑनलाइन टीचिंग पे, ऑनलाइन स्टडिंग पे, सब चीजें डिफरेंट हो गई. और फिर जब हम बात करते हैं कि सोशल कनेक्टिविटी, और सोशल कनेक्टिविटी में भी जो जापान ने जब अपनी लॉन्गेविटी इंप्रूव की, वन ऑफ द फैक्टर वाज फैमिली के साथ अपने मील टाइम, अपनी एक्टिविटीज, वो सारी हमारी चेंज हुई ड्यूरिंग दैट. सो इन द लास्ट सेशन वेयर डॉक्टर अनीता डिड टॉक अबाउट स्लीप, कि किस तरह से जो है वो नींद इफेक्ट कर सकती है बहुत सारी चीजों को, स्पेशली डायबिटीज मिलाइटिस के रेफरेंस से उन्होंने सेशन किया, जो पर्सनली मेरे लिए बहुत ज्यादा आई टच विद दिस सेशन बिकॉज I do have a family history of diabetes. All the family members, majority of my family members, the siblings, all of them are diabetic, and I'm also a pre-diabetic. So I would like to highlight the importance के किस तरह अगर आप अच्छी sleep लेते हैं, टाइम पे बेड पे जाते हैं और intermittent जो है ना आप लंबी sleep ना लें. पाकिस्तान के अंदर whenever patients do come to us to the psychologist कि जी insomnia की प्रॉब्लम है, तो सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम कहाँ आती है कि वो डे टाइम के अंदर या तो बहुत लंबी नींद ले लेते हैं तो उनकी स्लीप का टाइम ऑटोमेटिकली लेट हो जाता है. जब वो लेट हो जाता है तो दे वोंट बी एबल टू गो टू बेड अर्लियर. सो अगर हम अपनी फूड इनटेक के साथ, हेल्दी एक्टिविटीज के साथ स्लीप को भी इम्प्रूव करें, डेफिनेटली इट विल ब्रिंग वंडर्स टू अवर लाइफ विदाउट हैविंग द रिएक्टिविटी के हम डॉक्टर के पास जाके बाद में जो हमने रिएक्शन देना है. सो इट्स बेटर कि हम प्रिवेंशन के ऊपर इन्वेस्ट करें, बिकॉज एज द नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ड्रग अब्यूज सेज $1 इन्वेस्टेड इन प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन द $7 or $5 जो कि हमने एज अ बर्डन ऑफ डिजीज पे इन्वेस्ट करना है. सो यू कैन इमेजिन कि अगर हम यहाँ पे कामयाब हो जाते हैं ये सारे चेंजेस लाने में, तो डेफिनेटली पाकिस्तान विल इम्प्रूव फर्दर. थैंक यू.
Thank you, Dr. Rabia. Now, certification of this session will be after tea break.